All right, welcome to your reading. So I am going to go ahead. So this is my first time. It took me so long to realize this could be a good idea to do them like this, do my readings on YouTube. Right now I'm hiding your name just in case. I just don't want to have it out there like that. Okay. Let me hide it here too. Actually, let's go ahead and go ahead and delete this one. All right, Emily. So let's jump into your chart. So let me get it. I have the whole sign version pulled up. Let's go ahead and get it pulled up on Placidus as well. Even though I'm a whole signer, I just made a live IG live and a video where that I had to release on YouTube for some reason about my big decision. So if you guys are, or if you're interested, or whoever's watching this is interested, check that out. Okay, where did you go, Emily? What the heck is going on? What the heck is going on? Okay. No. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay, regardless. So let's so I'm gonna go back and forth. So the best thing about this is I can share. So okay, so here is your chart, Emily, and I'm gonna go back and forth between present mode and just talking. So in essence, what we have here is a Capricorn Sun in the 11th house, conjunct Venus and Neptune. And we have a Pisces Rising. And then we have a moon over here in its own little spot in the 5th house in Cancer. So right away, you were born extremely close, within hours of a full moon. Which means that you have an opposite sun and moon sign. So one of the biggest things I like to do is I like to talk about the relationship between sun and moon, right? Between the feminine and masculine parts of you. So anyone that has a Cancer that's on that axis, right? So it's a very, very karmic axis of Cancer and Capricorn, right? They're gonna have to learn to balance out many different things in their lives. So for one of them, it's about having this inner versus outer life, right? Having the correct balance where you're not giving too much to your career, to 11th house, your friends or organizations that you're part of, and also just like doing external things like in action, right? And balancing that correctly with, giving yourself that emotional growth, giving yourself that home family life, everything ruled by Cancer, making sure that the inner life and the outer life are balanced is so huge. Also, karmically, what this can indicate is gender, right? So really balancing out the masculine and feminine parts within you. There can even be the case where in your recent incarnation you could have been the opposite sex of what you are now. So 1 second. So you have a very so your moon in Cancer, let's just start there, is in dignity, meaning that the best, I don't like to use the word best, but the sign that the moon works like at its highest level in is in Cancer. And the reason for that is that the moon rules Cancer, right? Is that people with moon in Cancer are really able to meet their emotional needs, right? They're able to, in essence, 1 second. They're able to really be there for themselves. So I'll give you an example of someone like, let's say someone with like a air moon, maybe it's Gemini, maybe it's Libra, Aquarius, whatever, especially Aquarius, there might be something that happens, right? Let's say like any kind of event happens, emotional event that would lead to an emotional reaction. That person might not feel the impact of that until way later. There's almost like an on-off switch. For you as a Cancer moon, you're very emotional, but you deal with your emotions when they come up. And because of that, you're able to really meet your emotional needs, right? So Cancer moon people, they have a very big attachment to home, family, and under stress, they may want to retire. Their home is their nest, right? A lot of times it's also a very, very strong bond with your mother, but they really need tons of nurturing. And under times of stress, there can be the whole metaphor of the crab, right? The Cancer crab, which when they're hurt or stressed, they crawl into their shell and they refuse to be vulnerable. So that's one thing to watch out for with Moon in Cancer is, because you're so sensitive. It's a water sign, so it's so sensitive, and it's heartbreak is inevitable in life, right? And sometimes Cancer types will find it very, very hard to trust again, right? So another thing with Cancer moon, with your specific Cancer moon in the 5th house, that means that there's a big need for you to have fun, like really to have fun and to create, right? Have fun, create, and so pleasurable, like there's an emotional need for you to have pleasurable pastimes, and they'll play a prominent role, like the joie de vivre, like that whole, like it's so important for you. So this is a very creative placement because Cancer, a water sign, can be involved with music, any of the arts, right? Also, Moon in Cancer makes you very compassionate. It makes you very empathetic and very compassionate to the suffering of people around you. And you'll be, even though you're Capricorn Sun, you'll still be someone that people find lots of emotional comfort in. So one thing also with 5th house moon, which is going to be kind of pushed away by the fact that you're Capricorn, is that sometimes there can be not enough of, like, it can be too much of the play hard and the work hard, play hard, but the fact that you are a Capricorn Sun, that's going to push a lot of that away. But really, it's just a very fun-loving energy. It's very good for kids as well, and so it's just like there's an emotional need for you to figure out whatever that is, whatever those pleasurable pastimes are, and really stick to them. And creative, so like inner child is another thing that's very important. So how does that relate to the opposition between Capricorn and Cancer? Well, they're as I said before, two very, very different signs, right? They're opposite signs, but an opposite sign is the same energy, just opposite. So Capricorn Sun and the 11th house is all about going out in the world, right? And building structures, whether it's through groups of friends. 11th house also has to do with ambitions and goals, that you like long-term goals, right? And I always think of the Capricorns as the hardest working. And a lot of times they have to go through lots of setbacks, right? So basically, you may have been someone, lots of Capricorn people are people who had to really, really grow up young, right? So that's kind of, something that's very, very common, not necessarily like trauma all the time, but it's something that, comes up. And like I said, there's always this like push and pull, because the rest of your chart, let's share it again. So you see the rest of your chart, most of the planets are above the horizon. They're in the higher part of the chart, which means that if you were to write an autobiography about, if there was going to be a biography about your life, right? People who have most of their planets above, in houses 7 through 12, like the biography would typically be about physical events, like this happened, and this happened, and this happened. When they have it like a lot of the planets underneath, it's more about like internal emotional realizations of the sort, right? Like, oh, look, I realized this, or I grew in this way. Not to say that your life is not about growth. It's just that there can be, from looking at all this. But with that said, you do have 3 planets in the 12th house, which is a very, very, very internal house. But there can be an emphasis, especially with the Pisces rising, to be more in that external. And we see that even further with Pluto, this planet of like, where is your greatest potential? Like we'll talk about that later in the reading, but Pluto's in the 10th house. That's like someone who changes the world. That's like someone who's really meant to bring and be a powerhouse in whatever their dharma is, whatever their life purpose is, right? So moving on, you see how these connect, but how there's really what I always give my clients homework: look up something about search like Capricorn Cancer opposition or Capricorn Cancer axis, and really, or watch YouTube videos and really learn about what that opposite energy is, right? Because there's so much that goes into it. You're lucky that it's not the other way around, because Capricorn Sun does very well in Capricorn, and the Moon does extraordinarily well in Cancer. And it's not in the inverse. And I know people who have that. It's not true. The inverse is like very, very untrue. So feel grateful about that. So, okay, now I want to look at aspects, but before that, let's look at aspects to see if there's any big ones. I'm gonna continuously stop share, and I even found an article that can talk to you about that. So just ask me to send it. But yeah, so let's see. So your Moon is opposite Neptune. All right. Moon opposite Neptune, and Sun, of course, Sun opposite Moon is the nature of the full moon. And not really, Sun is conjunct Venus, Sun is conjunct Neptune. So, obviously there is that opposition. So Sun's here with Neptune, Moon's opposite Neptune. So Moon opposite Neptune is a very interesting energy. And basically, Neptune represents basically illusions, right? It's also very high spirituality. It's like that almost that heavenly realm, right? And the Moon being your emotions, and kind of your internal, where you live internally, right? Which is in that Cancer world of comfort. That can make you, this can cause a lot of misunderstandings, which can lead to tons of confusing feelings. Also, this is the total energy of the over empath, meaning like where you take on way too much of the emotional energy of the world around you. And because you are, even though you are a Pisces rising, which we'll talk about next, there is a lot of public energy in your chart. You have to really watch out for like energy vampires in this sort, right? It's a challenging aspect, right? And it really needs a lot of self-awareness to deal with it. So the main difficulty is that there's like this, like I said, oversensitivity, over imagination, and you can tend to be very paranoid and tend to imagine things that aren't real, like especially when it comes to like basic conversation, So it can also have to do with relationships too, because the Moon is so prevalent and important when it comes to relationships, because it can, like, for example, you might think someone's showing romantic interest when they're not. So it's like there can be like paranoia, over idealization, tons of different things, right? So deception, emotional deception. What else? So yeah, so it can be really important for you, like if it's whether through therapy, which by the way, I do astrological counseling. If you're ever interested, it's like becoming my main thing, or just therapy in general, to kind of, or like a good friend, to be able to test out your theories. Like, let's say you're like in a relationship, or you're starting to see someone, to like have that really reliable person to like reality test, as they say in psychology, what you're feeling, right? Like I don't know. So that's very, very important. But also, every opposition and square can be a superpower. So basically, it can in itself bring you psychic powers. It's just like you have to kind of learn how to fizzle out like what's real and what's not, and what there can also like what's coming from like the ego and pain, and what's coming from like real intuition. So meditation and increase, which leads to that increased self-awareness, is like going to help you differentiate between truth and fiction, and also reality and illusion, right? What else? So yeah, it's always about asking questions if you're unsure of, like, let's say you're in a relationship, you're starting to see someone, you think something's going a certain way. Just like ask that person, like, hey, this is like my impression of what's going on. Like, I kind of have this issue, or like, whatever. Is this accurate? And that's just, like, you'd be surprised by how people respond to that level of vulnerability a lot of the time, right? But really, it's just like very, very compassionate, caring energy. I also see you being like someone who's very, very protective, especially of family, but like even of like friends, because Sun's in the 11th house, which makes friends in the groups and the associations that you become a part of extremely important. So yeah. Okay. So moving on, Sun conjunct Venus, that's just a beautiful aspect, right? That's going to give more of like a smooth kind of feel to your Sun in Capricorn, which can be a little bit stern. I don't really like go too far into sun signs. Your sun sign, but you know how Capricorns can be a little bit stern, a little bit like this face. Like the Venus, that maybe it was a bad face, but like the Venus conjunct that is going to give you way more of like kind of a Libra, Taurus kind of feel, right? So that's a really, really strong placement. And then Neptune there, with that being your chart ruler with your Pisces ascendant. Let's go back to the share. So with your Pisces ascendant right here making your chart ruled by Neptune, it's going to give you very amazing and beautiful, mysterious eyes, right? So, and a lot of this, like, it's linked, and you have the South Node rising, so you're bringing over into this life a lot of real mysticism. So all this intuition that you have naturally is like brought over from past lives, which is beautiful, and also your physical appearance. So this is trippy. Check this out. Your physical appearance is going to be very similar. I know we said a thing about gender, but your physical appearance, there's going to be some similarity between your most recent lifetime and this one, because ascendant is how you look, and South Node is on the ascendant. So interesting, but it could go further than that, and just be more just like your personality. You're really like bringing on a lot of the same personal traits, and that mysticism and kind of Piscean nature, which is in a trine with your moon in Cancer, which works perfectly. And it also works perfectly with all this 12th house energy, which is the house of Pisces. So moving on. So Pisces rising right here in the 11th house is once again strengthening this 11th house. So you're like, once again, groups, organizations, friendships, long-term idealistic goals. The list goes on. These play a huge role in your life, right? When I think of it like the new society, right? Like the new tribes, like finding your tribe. That kind of energy is so important. And you're going to be someone who's going to be kind of a leader in that. And there's going to need to be a common goal, right? Like a common goal and idealism. And you're going to bring with Venus there, you're going to be someone who brings tons of peace to that. You may even find love within like, groups you join that you're very attached to, right? So that is that. And so with the Pisces rising, it basically, Pisces rising people are literally the chameleons of the zodiac, right? They they tend to really blend in, and they also have trouble with boundaries. So this is another thing for you that's super important, is watch out for one sec. Okay. Watch out for like with, as a Cancer moon, you really have to watch out for energy vampires, right? And it's important for you to spend time alone also. So important, right? And but with Pisces rising, so you're a chameleon. You're someone who probably when young, you were able to just kind of fit in with this crowd and almost like change yourself to kind of like almost like it's like the perfect like energy for an actress or right. So, Pisces risings can be shy. They like to feel more like comfortable before they like really like budge their way into a situation, or to like pursuing their purpose. Sometimes they can be a little wishy-washy, and it can be difficult to find that determinism, which is so much helped by, or determination, which is so much helped by that Capricorn sun you have, right? But it's very overall like versatile, flexible. It's a mutable sign. It's super adaptable. Also very, very romantic. But there can be that indecision, right? And that oversensitivity that we keep talking about, right? But overall, it makes your personality and the way you exude your confidence very spiritual. And also your friends play a huge role in your in kind of like your overall personal life. Like you probably like to roll deep, like roll with your friends. It's tea time. So watching out for being too impressionable is really important, and creating a firm set of like, these are my boundaries. If you cross them, peace out. That's like so important for someone with your chart. And guess what? You have a Capricorn sun, which is saving this, right? It's almost like you have all these like esoteric, mystical, just amazing spiritual gifts. And that Capricorn sun is here to tell you like, hey, you can do this. Like you have this energy, this Capricorn energy to make you kind of more strong, more able to kind of push out the negative influences and go towards your goals, whatever they are. But yeah, you definitely have that gift of mysticism. So chart ruler Neptune, 29 degrees Capricorn, in the 11th house. That. One second. So yeah, that energy is just like I said, searching for very spiritual and humanitarian friendships, and maybe even like escaping from reality through groups, and really wanting to be of service to humanity through like the groups of friends and whatever you join, and having like very idealistic goals. So okay. So then we move on to, that 12th house is just catching my eye in Aquarius. I mean, that's just some next level, like psychic kind of like wow, having Jupiter and Mars together in Aquarius with Uranus there in the 12th house. But before that, let's talk about Mercury, which you have at 29 degrees Sagittarius, 10th house. It's quite close to your midheaven, which means that you could benefit from a career type where, with your career, you're really going to need to have a lot of communication. But it's going to have to be something where you're really growing towards a you need lots of independence and freedom in what you do, but there needs to be meaning, right? So you won't do well where it's just like kind of like monogamous, that's not the right word, like just the same thing every day, right? There's gonna, like, you have to have some, like you'll really want it to be teaching you something about life and about your overall place in the cosmos, right? So yeah, it gives a very enthusiastic approach to your career with just the 10th Sag on the 10th house cusp. And then because it's ruled, your 10th house cusp is ruled by Jupiter, which is in the 12th house, that could, potentially, like, astrologer, psychologist, or something that involves the collective unconscious and getting in touch with esoteric forces can actually be something that, it could even be like working in institutions, healing in some way, potentially, right? And also being a service, like humanitarianism, which is totally astrology, or totally 12th house territory, and totally Aquarius territory, right? So yeah, you definitely want to contribute to the overall good. And that's not just career. 10th house, people get it twisted, midheaven 10th house. It's not just career. It's just like dharma. It's the highest part. It's like how you are publicly. So also, with, Mercury, back to Mercury here in Sag, you in the 10th house, you'll want to share your ideas with, like, really be able to communicate and share your thoughts, which are your deep Sagittarian thoughts, in your chosen profession. So you're going to want to be able to use your voice and not be like held back for it. And it's all about, like I said, expanding your worldview, right? Like, you're a born philosopher. You think big picture. That's where you think from, right? So you're always kind of placing importance also on freedom of speech, freedom of thought, but like you're really like trying to like see like how does this play into the big picture, and you'll want a career that relates to that. And then the fact that your 6th house is ruled by Leo, which is with your sun in 11th house, that's just like, once again, just saying that these groups of people, like, there's definitely like very, very karmic groups of people that are here for you, that you're meant to meet and that you're meant to work with, and really feel that authenticity. Okay, let's see, Mercury, any aspects? Unaspected Mercury. So yeah, so that can make you a bit blunt. As a Sag Mercury, you can be a bit blunt and say, and sometimes like not really feel checked by what you say. Like, you say it like 29 degrees, like right on the cusp with Cancer, that Mercury. It's like a very dynamic mind where sometimes you can be a little bit overly blunt. As Sag Mercuries can be. So make sure to not allow that to get you in trouble. But overall, Pluto there in the 10th house as well, with what was I gonna say? Let's see, one second. So yeah, Scorpio rules the 9th, Pluto's in the 10th. It's just literally saying what I just said, right? And Chiron's in the 9th as well. So it's really like you're meant to have a career. You're meant to have a huge impact on the outer world, where you, in essence, are learning a lot about truth and all that Sagittarian stuff. Maybe even travel, which can be travel physically, different cultures, or travel metaphorically through like different philosophies, different books, different ways of learning, different teachers and stuff can play into it. Okay, so Mars and Venus. So Venus in Capricorn. So love. Let's talk about love. You're gonna want a more structure. You have Venus retrograde natally, so you're gonna feel more like you may be very kind of like analytical about like, and you have Neptune conjunct Venus, so you'll be very analytical when it comes to matters of love. You might even overthink it a little bit, but really like you're really wanting to have a structured relationship like I always give this metaphor in so many of my readings of like when you're building a skyscraper, they spend so much time on the foundation, right? That's like the Capricorn Venus. It's like that's the kind of like you're not here to muck around, right? You really want like the serious, you know, and your moon sign Cancer, right, goes and shows us even more. You want that serious love, right? That thing that's going to last, that kind of Saturnian love that's going to last for the long haul. So Venus conjunct Neptune. This is so the fact. So this goes back to what I was saying earlier about moon opposite Neptune. Well, the fact that it's conjunct Venus basically like is that you kind of have to like really ask opinions from other people close to you when it comes to matters of love, right? You might have what's called the rose-colored glasses in love, where you see someone more for their potential. I don't know why I'm not. I can share the screen. Where you might see someone more for their potential than for who they truly are, right? Which can be detrimental. So it's really all about, at the same time, you're really going to want a high spiritual relationship. And so just understanding that there can be, like, once again, watch out for the energy vampires, right? So Venus Neptune conjunction is going to make your Venus almost a little bit like Pisces Venus, even though it's in Capricorn. It's going to kind of like mix some of that. And though like that energy can make you like almost like sacrificial in love, like where you're willing to like have no boundaries in love and like give everything in love, right? Which can be really dangerous, right? So it's super important to get the counsel of like maybe like someone with like not even necessarily with more earth energy, but to really like have like a trusted person, whether, like I said, it's a therapist, a best friend, family member, someone who you can really talk to and kind of like get their opinion on what's going on. So 1 second. Yeah. So, and then with Mars, so Venus doesn't really have any other aspects. Mars in the 12th house in Aquarius, I have that placement as well, just in the 7th house. That basically like gives you this drive towards 1 second. Towards like the esoteric. It gives you this drive towards 1 sec. So it gives you this drive towards all things spiritual. But also 12th house Mars it can be someone who self-sabotages, where you feel like your sense of power is somehow eroded. And there can be like these like emotional outbursts like out of nowhere, right? Like just actions out of nowhere. And so it's one thing, but the fact that you have Jupiter right on that will push a lot of that difficulty away. But there's definitely some impulsivity here in this 12th house in Aquarius. So yeah, the fact that Aquarius Uranus is in the house that it rules, the 12th house rules Aquarius in your chart, and you have Uranus there. Uranus in 12th house, I can go into it, but it basically can give you like lots of really intense intuitive flashes. And people that have this can sometimes like see the future, like no joke. And the fact that you have Jupiter there, that kind of gives you like this lantern in everything that relates to, I guess you could say, like metaphysics and like these areas of life, like that are usually quite dark for most people, like the unseen, right? 12th house Neptunian territory, you have almost this flashlight, right? So, and also this luck, whatever house Jupiter is in is going to bring luck. So you'll have luck and also spiritual safety. Like when you're sleeping, you're going to be like in meditating, like this is like spiritual protection. Like Mars in the 12th house could also be hidden enemies, though. I need to say that. But Jupiter there is going to really temper a lot of those and give you like this really dynamic, like psychic potential for seeing the future. And when you meditate, so this is very important. Meditation for you is something that's like so amazing because you have this South Node, right? The past life energy in Pisces. So you brought on so many mystical talents into this life. So basically, by you just meditating, you can get these downloads, Uranus in the 12th house, and this perspective, Jupiter in the 12th house. And my opinion of your Mars is like, yeah, you have to watch out for the self-sabotaging, anyone with Mars in the 12th, but it's the only inner planet in there, and it's accompanied by Jupiter. So really, it's like, to me, it's just more of a drive to kind of like to go out and meditate, to go out and be of service, right? Like, so being of service is a huge, and that doesn't mean like quit your job and start charity. It's like being of service is a huge thing for you because it can ultimately, with your North Node in Virgo too, it's just a service oriented sign. It can ultimately undo a lot of the difficult Mars in Aquarius 12th house karma. So more about Mars and Aquarius. They are very unpredictable. I am one, like I told you. They are very rebellious, especially when angry. They're like, fuck that, I'm going my other way. It's really hard to kind of understand like what makes them tick. In love, they like to really like be friends and have like an intellectual connection with their other, per se, their partner. And yeah, it's just like it's almost like kind of like when I use the word genius, I mean just like someone who thinks, who just like has different types of actions, who goes against the like kind of the road less taken, right? Robert Frost, shout out Robert Frost. So what else can I say about that? Mars and Aquarius. Yeah, so super independent, not easily pushed around. And yeah, like I said, they will rebel if they feel boxed in. So in love, they're going to need, even though you do have like the planets that demand consistency, demand that person who can be the same day after day after day, you're also wanting someone who's exciting, someone who's unconventional, right? And because like in a woman's chart, Mars and some say Jupiter, like represents like the man a woman will be attracted to. Well, they're both in Aquarius in the 12th house. That's like Pisces Aquarius energy. You'll be attracted to that kind of man. Well, actually, I don't know your sexual orientation, but if you're heterosexual, then yeah. So yeah, it's huge. It's a huge reformer streak. And it can give like unusual hobbies. And also one really great thing about Mars and Aquarius is that it gives them this real ability to let other people just be, and like they know like how much freedom they need, so they're just very good at giving freedom in space. And yeah, it's just kind of like it's very creative too. It's like it's like a different kind of more eccentric, future oriented type of creativity, I could say. So yeah, like Jupiter in the 12th house, also you'll seek the meaning of life from deep within yourself. And like you'll have this like well of optimism that like during like the most difficult times in life, you're able to like really dig into and find that. And then the fact that's in Aquarius, that's going to make you like just very like kind of probably have like these very inclusive I don't want to say liberal, it's kind of you know what I mean, like values, like very humanitarian, equality, these types of values, and also just be a seeker of like this of new and inspirational truth. Like like maybe even like inventor type energy, like someone who's just, you know, and also like technology is something that is ruled by Aquarius. So that can be something that is of, you know, like inventor type energy, and technology can be assets. So, all right. I've probably already gone way over. My freaking timer didn't work. So yeah, midheaven over there in Aquarius, in Sag, already talked about that. You know, like enthusiastic approach to your career, liking to be noticed publicly also. And also there can be like some foreign connection to your career. So it's in the 10th house. So Chiron in Scorpio, that's going to be, you know, healing. There could be like some sexual trauma, regardless, you know, we're not really sure there. But like it could also be like pain that's like in intimate relationships. There could even be like a pre-birth trauma. So it pushes you into like exploring this like stuff like astrology and like the depths, you know, these deeper realms of life, and also sexuality, because that's what it is too. And then you can at some point use that to become like a teacher and healer for people of that sense. And then in the 9th house, that's the typical feeling rejected for your own beliefs. So yeah. All right. So getting close. So Saturn, we didn't talk about that. It's in the 2nd house. So Saturn in the 2nd house in Aries. It basically, let me have a sip of tea, mix it up a little bit. So you have to really learn about patience and self-reliance there. And Saturn in the 2nd house, people, a lot of times they come from kind of like poverty, not all the time, but there's like it's like lessons around, karmic lessons around like not tying up your internal with your external. Like like not being too like they'll come into life a lot of times come into life with financial poverty, and it's like not becoming too obsessed. Like there can be this real fear, right, of like even like millionaires that have this, or billionaires, like they don't want to spend because they just feel like they're going to be like poor. So it's like it's really about hard work, but it makes workaholics. So it's really important also to you know, take your value from internal, right? And instead of like making it all about the external and your possessions. What else can I say about this? So yeah, it does typically like, so like it can create issues, karmic issues with money. But when you can learn the lesson that karma wants you to learn, also, or that Saturn wants you to learn, it can be not so bad. And it's in Aries. So let me see. So yeah, it kind of creates like a survivor, right? So and that mentality. And so like it can create, like I said, like the workaholics, where they dedicate a ton of their time and effort into building income. And there's a need to heal traumas related to financial difficulties. And yeah, so it's also really, really good. And let's see what other aspects are to it. Like it can create millionaires, because it just makes that, like Saturn, it's like the lesson. So like, and I don't, it's actually trying, wait, no, that's not it. It's trying your midheaven. So like this could actually be a really, really positive impact for you, like for your money. So like you'll probably have to work really hard, but like if you do work really, really hard, and as a Capricorn, that's what you do, like, you know, you can really make a ton of money. Okay, so now 7th house. So your North Node is in Virgo. We talked a little bit about the South Node. So the North Node in Virgo, it's basically a quest to become dedicated to being of service, but also to put your plans, all that mystical stuff into action. So it goes really well with your Capricorn Sun. Action, 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 building things that last, that don't just like start and then fall, right? Putting all of that past life mystical ability you're bringing into action, right? And also you'll need to overcome the tendency to maybe daydream in past lives and feel overwhelmed, and put all that compassion and wisdom into practical use for humanity. So then in the 7th house, it's like same thing I have. It's basically just like a quest for right relations. So it's like relationship stuff. It can also be business partnerships, partnerships with like clients, if you're like in the therapist, something like that. So it's like letting go of ego-centered actions and devoting your life to others, right? So yeah, kind of like South Node in the 1st house can be a little bit about themselves, even though yours is in the selfless sign Pisces. So just moving towards that. And then your South Node ruler is Mercury, which is, once again, that's that unaspected Sagittarius Mercury in the 10th house. So, you're really, really here. There's so much karma with the career, especially with the Pluto there. And yeah, Pluto in the 10th house, meant to be like a powerful leader in your chosen career. And I have a Pluto book that I always go to most of the time, and it's very quick. It's notes I made when I first started doing astrology readings. You can see this book, and I like to read this to kind of, I think we have like one other thing to talk about. Where's 10? Okay, so bear with me. So Pluto is basically like the energy. It's like, imagine you have to go through your own shadow. Pluto's like shadow work, but then by doing it, you get to like that highest gain. So here, there's a desire to form a meaningful role within society and to express personal power based on self-determination and self-discipline in order to achieve these goals. Potential past life memories exist where they felt defeated by the system or a sense of mistreatment from others, as they may have been judged as looking some way. The central issue is to accept responsibility for your actions and to therefore begin to mature emotionally and psychologically. The skipped step, in parentheses or in quotations, was in the public domain, and this now represents the avenue of greatest growth. No wonder you're Capricorn, right? Accepting your thoughts, desires, and actions are a accumulation of your own karma. So I'm going to repeat that. Well, accepting your thoughts, desires, and actions are a accumulation of your own karma. Wow. So then learning to place our own power within ourselves as opposed to outside of it. And this goes back to that whole sun-moon opposition, right? Cancer moon inside, Capricorn Sun outside. So learn to place our own power within ourselves as opposed to outside of it, and acting as victims of circumstances. There's a need to reconnect / re-identify with experience of nurture and personal emotional belonging. So, boom. So yeah, and then the fact that it's ruled by by Mercury is it's just doubling down. I already said what I said about the career and what that's meant to be like, and then of course with the blah 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 blah, the Capricorn energy in 11th house, like it's all, you see how everything has kind of connected. All right, and then also I must say that your part of fortune is conjunct your North Node. Part of fortune is an Arabic point. It's basically like where your greatest joy and fulfillment comes from. So, basically, it's just doubling down that you get tons of that from following your highest North Node Virgo principle, and the vertex, which is your doorway to higher awareness, is also there. Last two things I'm going to talk about are in your 8th house, and that's Juno and Black Moon Lilith. So Juno adds to this whole romance thing. And yes, I'm drinking a Pepsi right now. Too good. So Juno adds to that and basically is giving more detail into the whole love stuff, right? The whole love part of the reading. So Juno in Libra is just like looking in the 8th house, is one end looking for very like balanced and beautiful, like that, you know, like peaceful relationships, right? Where you're an equal with your partner, where there's peace, harmony. And then in the 8th house, that's also saying that you want a emotionally intense relationship that's kind of spiritual, you know, with that deep sexual intimacy, where you're really changing and growing with your partner, and maybe even going through shadow work together, right? So that's that. Finding Black Moon Lilith, and I have my own way of doing that. I look at Black Moon Lilith as sort of your, and also, oh, I forgot to say you have Eris in the 2nd house, which is also really, really good for actually, I don't know. I'm not going to speak on Eris in the 2nd house, actually, because it can be a little bit difficult for income and money as well. But yeah, so it's like, but it can also like create tons of like fiery volcanic drive in that area. So yeah, but yeah, Black Moon Lilith, I see it as like, it's not a planet. It's basically like, if you are in your worst vibe, kind of where you go. And in Libra, that is all about people pleasing, not having boundaries, right? Like, so watch out for like not having boundaries, like letting people like letting people like making like wanting everyone to be happy at the expense of yourself, but also like gossiping and being fake, and getting entangled in other people's business. And yeah, so what else can I say? So yeah, just like being a people pleaser, like saying one thing to one person, one thing to the other. So really watching out for that. Anyways, that's about it. So a few things, since this is now on YouTube, you know, you could still find like one of those free like YouTube video downloaders and save it, but you know, unless some crazy stuff happens, I don't plan on having my YouTube channel deleted. So that is that. And definitely, so your birthday just happened. Happy late birthday. I would really consider getting a current astrology report. So this is the birth chart. You get it done once. The current astrology, which I give a discount for, you know, returning clients. I only offer it to people who've done the birth chart, like you. That's a different reading. It's a live one. So unlike this one, that's a live one. But you also, I don't think you got a follow up. So I would also recommend, you know, either or. I would recommend both. And I literally don't give a fuck about the money. Like literally. I'm just saying like the follow-up session, 80 or 90% of my clients get it, because the only people that I say like don't really need it are people who have a firm understanding of their chart already. Maybe they've like gotten their chart done by a lot of people and they don't require that. But in your case, like if that's not the case, it's awesome. And it's a great live way for us to talk and to connect and to make sure that all this information is cemented, because it's a lot. So that's that. And then the current astrology report is another one. And I could definitely make you a deal if you're interested in doing both of those. That is done. You know, I try to get my clients to do that once each year around the time of their birthday. And that is just speaking about like this reading is the book of your life. You get done once. That's it. The yearly astrology is kind of how the current chapter, the current energetic chapter, how the transits, progressions, you know, your solar return chart, and you know, house ingress, all these different predictive techniques are explaining the current energy and what's going on now. So anyways, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this reading. It was a pleasure. And I'll talk to you later. Okay, ciao.